Yeah, I mean, that's probably not going to be paired up with Death Prophet's the most in this lineup, but it is still a play that you can make, right? Put the IO on the DP and you still get a nice buff up, and as you said, really emphasizing that sort of longevity and durability for these engagements. So now if you're Thunder Predator, or Thunder Awaken rather, excuse me, you have a lot of decisions to make. We talked about their plan being get on the Death Prophet, take her down quickly, and do so consistently, but if the IO's there tethered to her, just keeping her healed up, then you have another kind of high priority target, and this is where we see a lot of teams fall apart. When you have more than one hero that you have to focus first, you literally can't do that. That's how first works. So I'm not entirely sure how they're going to go about this. It could just be a plan for Thunder Awaken to maybe come at their opponents with some overwhelming force, get a little bit more in the way of team fight strength here, and see if you can knock down multiple targets in one go at this point, or do you think they remain sort of single target focus moving forward?
It's really hard to tell because Hokori aren't saying a lot really with their draft right now because I'm thinking in my head, would they even tempt the IO Death Prophet off lane? Is that going to be a combo good enough? They still need to get a really good hero pairing.
Oh.
And I thought about this in my head was, would they pick Kunkka
Oh.
versus the IO in AA? Okay, things are getting a little bit weird because I'm thinking there's no way they pick Kunkka in this draft because we always continuously see Death Prophet as the definitive answer to Kunkka, where the lane is just so obnoxious that you don't even want to deal with it. But I guess it's manageable enough that you would want to pick it versus Io because it's still in the pool. At the same time, we've got 3 Dark Mago heroes. He's got really this treasure trove that he could pick from. At the same time, I feel like they really kind of need an initiator at this point, but assuming with what Thunder Awaken have picked up in the past, is this going to be a Sacred or Pakaz Leshrac, followed by a Matthew Ember, and then I suppose a Widge Ancient Apparition? Because you gotta assume it's going to be the Dark Mago Kunkka. I'm really just concerned about the Death Prophet lane. Because when I'm thinking about it in my head, whether or not they can actually pick Kunkka, the Death Prophet is really just that annoying. Not to mention, Hokori can now just completely counterpick you if they want. They still need an IO partner to kind of get through that late game, that mid to late game phase of the game where you actually need to get levels on someone. But I honestly don't think they're too concerned. And they do pick Slardar. Okay. Everything's kind of falling into line here. Okay.
Does make for an interesting pick. We've seen the Slardar now a couple of times since the patch dropped, and I mean it's worked out remarkably well, all things considered. So if you're Hokori, you do still have maybe a little bit of a concern. That Ancient Apparition is going to sort of detract your healing and durability lineup that little bit, but you've got Slardar, you've got Death Prophet heroes that are already a little bit durable and tanky in their own right, regardless of what the Treant and the IO sort of bring to the table. So Hokori may just have a plan to, I mean, fight their way through this, especially if the Ancient Apparition can be pressured up in any significant way. If you can make sure that AA isn't in a position to sort of hit those ults to turn the tides, then he really doesn't do a whole lot to move the needle for Thunder Awaken.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the carries. I'm really thinking about what these teams are going to want. They need someone who's going to do it all. I don't think we're going to see a Medusa pick, especially out of Thunder Awaken here, just because there's so much anti-armor already and so much physical damage coming out that it's the one thing that Medusa doesn't do well. You don't really build any armor items, and of course, she's no slouch in being tanky, but that's the one easy way you kill her, is you slap her with the Corrosive Haze, you slap her with an Exorcism, and then suddenly she's just dead and getting kited away. At the same time, you're going to want a hero that naturally buys a Manta style because you're playing versus a Treant Protector. I'm just thinking, out of all of Picasso's heroes, which one is going to fit the nicest? And Razor? Okay. It's Counterpick City. Thunder Awaken have really drafted incredibly reactively here, while Hokori, I think, just have a much more stable lineup, to be honest. I'm a little bit concerned. And, well, let's see it. Yeah, the Yuma PA. Okay. So they've got PA Slardar. They've got a lot of combos. The only thing that Hokori really needs to be careful about is they don't have that kind of IO partner. They don't have that accelerator. The IO is going to be more or less attached to analog until Yuma finishes that Battle Fury. And if that time period spans too long, can definitely see Hokori falling behind level-wise, needing to play for maybe a little bit later on to actually make those plays, but otherwise, I think they've got a very solid lineup. Meanwhile, Thunder Awaken, they don't have a lot of lockdown. They don't have a lot of CC. We could see Matthew just ball out of control with the chains, just setting up for Dark Mega left and right. But I think as it comes down to align with Thunder Awaken, he's got to have an incredible game on this Kunkka because he is kind of your only playmaker right now. It's one of the big drawbacks, I think, of picking Sacred heroes like the Snapfire or the Leshrac, but even more so because at least with Snapfire, you get a stun eventually, you even have the cookie, but with Lesh, you need setup from Matthew. So Matthew's got a ball out of control this game. This is their most dubious draft yet.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting that, as you said, their most dubious draft started off with them getting first pick Ember, which normally, you know, not guaranteed win, but Matthew on Ember is kind of hard for teams to deal with. But yeah, everything that Thunder Awaken are going to want to do has to be set up by something else, and I don't know what the offlane Lesh is going to provide them. That's a hero that I don't think we have a consistent idea of what he contributes in the position 3 role as opposed to the 2 or even the 1 for that matter. So that is going to be a massive question mark for that Thunder Awaken side. If Sacred just can really help contribute with the lockdown and the damage, then this teamfight strength for Thunder Awaken does look that little bit better, but it's a pretty big if compared to Hokori, whose lineup, as you said, it feels like it's going to be maybe easier for them to execute.
Yeah, and of course, depending on the individual performances, you know, we could be throwing the book out the window pretty soon here. But at the same time, I'm definitely scared for Thunder Awaken. Not to mention picking up this counter pick in the AA. Hokori, if they really wanted to, they could have just shoved Analog off to the side. They could have just made the Death Prophet into the offliner and picked him maybe a better hero. But we'll have to see if this AA is the answer that we've seen teams of the past definitely value, especially versus heroes like Winter Wyvern. But at the same time, was 731 enough to resurrect this hero? Because I feel like this is the first time I've seen it picked up in months.
There you go. Little close there, but Hokori don't want to spring that trap until he is well inside their radius, so they don't pull the trigger. They are in a nice position to just take a bounty rune, but these were kind of their bounty runes to grab in the first place. It should just be a 2-2 split, but worth a shot if you're Hokori, right? You had the slows, you had the armor reduction, so they could have given it a go, but nobody really comes over, and with that, we will settle into the lanes. I am very much interested to see whether Widge is actually going to stick around top for an attempt at first blood, because he has not TP'd down bot just yet.
No, he is just kind of staying there, and he does have the almost, I want to say, adjusted spell amp from Ice Vortex. It's a lot stronger at level 1, which is definitely something to watch out for, but then Matthew's going to have to get Searing Chains level 1, and he just kind of hit the stun raw with Sacred, but it's just getting a little bit awkward. And of course, the Razor's not going to be too pressured up by Theliacor and Vitali. He is still Razor versus Slardar, but there's also just no reason to keep this pressure.
Yeah, I mean, Widge, he tried to sort of hide his way through the tree line. Did see Gardic, though, pinging out his location before he actually revealed himself, so didn't really do what they wanted it to do, and now Widge just TPs himself bot, so gonna look to just help out the Razor as much as possible, and there we go. He was actually looking for that Sentry Ward first, does manage to bring it down, and
you can run. You should.
We'll see how annoying he can be, Widge. He did put the first point up in the Cold Feet, which I don't really know if that's going to matter too much against Vitali and Theolacor. They've got the regen and the move speed to just sort of 9 times out of 10 avoid that, but just try to be annoying, maybe burns through some regen at this stage in the game, and take pressure off of the Razor as much as you can.
Yeah, and at the same time, Vitali's actually started Boots first. I think he just had Boots Tangos and then sent the Clone Blade out later on, but just means that getting a Link is going to be almost impossible for Vitali, or at least a good Link, and that's where maybe this lane is just going to be fine, and as long as it's fine, again, the name of the game for a lot of these lanes is just drawing, trying to wait for a later timing, seeing how the mid-game will play out later on, because the only one to really break the silence here is going to be that Dark Mago Kunkka, and he's kind of having to deal with his own problem versus the Death Prophet, where unfortunately, you just have to bring yourself out. Even more regen. You have to play at that disadvantage. He's got his bottle coming out now, but it's just simply you're playing versus a bottle and a siphon, and you still need to get last hits. It's not like you can just ignore it. It's just a problem, and it's the reason why Death Prophet is the counter pick, but maybe Dark Mago is just feeling that confident. It probably is his best hero. I'm just a little bit concerned.
Yeah, and it's a bit of a deviation from what we normally see from Thunder Awaken, right? They love enabling Dark Mago as much as possible, often even more so than their own carry. As speaking of carries, Bakaz needs one more hit maybe with that bonus damage to take the Hokori down. He's not going to be able to get it. Now Vitaly, well, he got the bash. He didn't want the crush, though, showing respect to Widge, but now that Widge is backed off, they are going to try this, but Vitaly is standing in the cold feet. He is going to get hit up. The Hokori tethers back in, but that means Bakaz can hit him, or maybe he can't. The crush comes in. Bakaz falls. That was a tightrope walk, basically, and Bakaz is the one to fall. Hokori, they get first blood, and now they'll get a second as well. That was 4, 5 bashes in that ET? I don't know, but I can't believe they actually went for that. The Hokori was so unbelievably low. If that crush did not come in at that exact moment, the IO was going to be dead.
And honestly, you could say great bait from Hokori there, kind of going back in. You felt it from Bakaz, right? He was like, oh, he's just dead. I've got this. I've got the plasma field, and I still have the static link damage, but at the same time, it doesn't happen. And Vitaly, okay, he overstays. The couriers don't make it in time to heal him up, and now Hokori is also in an awkward spot because that glyph came through.
Does
Bakaz get a double? Oh, that'd be really funny.
He's got it.
Well, you give and you take. You give and you take.
Double kill for your Razor, getting some immediate revenge. Meanwhile, up in the top lane, while that fight was going down, they were able to pick off a hero themselves, and they're looking at Yuma now. The problem is Sacred doesn't really have any spells left to throw out here, so they had a little bit more firepower. That was a very low HP Phantom Assassin that they had in their crosshairs, but they don't have the mana, and Gardic is there to sort of provide that extra bulwark. And, well, good play to bail his teammate out. Gardic respawns in time, but that is still Thunder Awaken getting themselves 3 kills across the map, and the double kill going to the Razor, I think, is even more important, because this Razor is someone you really don't want to allow to accelerate. Maybe you can deal with him as a team later on in the game, but if he is sort of building up quickly and efficiently, a lot more sort of questions get thrown Hokori's way.
Well, and there is that counter pick in the PA where you can just very easily blink out of the static link. It's not the hopeless matchup as we've seen play out. Thankfully, only once so far in the tournament, where it being the Razor versus the Troll, but definitely getting pressured up a little bit, and you are that fast just running away with the Guardian Sprint that even though it is a level 3 static link, it isn't the end of the world, but it is incredibly important that he does find that level 5 that sooner, just because it now sets up for, if Dark Mago ever wants to come to the lane, that's where the link does prolong, and that's where your Razor does start to do actually quite a lot of damage, and that might be where we see Vitaly fall next. But until then, it's up to Dark Mago to really make the plays for his team. No one else is really going to rotate out of their lanes. Everybody's stuck waiting for their level 6s, and he really has to come to them.
Meantime, we got Theolacor,
It's a little awkward.
he's trying to really contest a rune spawn, but that's almost certainly going to cost him. And the rune wasn't even there. So Analog's at least able to bottle that. That's going to be a little bit of good news, but Theolacor does end up sacrificing himself forward. And now Analog, you might want to be a little careful. Matthew's coming in, but I don't think he really has the angle at this moment in time. Yeah, they're not really going to be able to do too much there, but Thunder Awaken get themselves another kill, but you set your Death Prophet up quite nicely, and now they're going to push in. He's just going all in for it. Has the Siphon, has the Exo, but once they see Matthew sort of hanging out to the side, they decide this is maybe trying to do a little bit too much. But Analog's still pushing forward. I don't think he realizes Widge is here until now, and this is a very strange series of events. The Hokori respawning, coming in. They're going to look to turn this fight. They're in onto that Ancient Apparition, trying a little bit more damage to bring him down, and Analog's able to get it, and now Dark Mago, he's out of regen. He can't afford to fight.
Yeah, and it looks like they will get the tower here. Unfortunately, the card did die, so maybe it takes a second longer, but That's exactly what they want. That's the play they were grasping for in the first game. At the same time, it's a little bit sad for Vitaly because you have separated him from his Wisp for such a long period of time that there's just not that much regen for him to play around with, and regen that he hasn't been buying because he was playing with an IO up until this point. But you get the mid tower, you can't really ask for much more. And you strike at the perfect time as well because Dark Mago, he had already used Boat. As soon as he uses that, there really isn't enough magic damage for them to get a lot of these kills until Sacred wants to get involved. And of course, Sacred isn't going to get involved until he has at least one item and probably his level 6 here, but he's trying to put his own pressure on the map.
Yeah, looking for this tower, and you can see there's a little bit of support drifting in the jungle as Dark Mago and Matthew are in the area, so if he can push and get damage on the tower, great. If Hokori do try to actually press onto him, then reinforcements were sort of nearby, but Hokori aren't going to take that bait. In fact, Yuma, oh, he tried to TP out, but Matthew's there to cancel it, so now, yeah, now you got to be careful. Yuma just jumps over to his teammate. They don't want to get sort of caught with their pants down, so to speak, but that means Sacred can push in to try and get more damage on that tier 1.
And Gardic is trying to do a good job,
actually
but
just going to
refocus. Yep.
It gets pulled in by the boat as Dark Mago arrives. They've got the follow-up stun. Okay. Yeah, you can go ahead and step away from the tower, Sacred, if it means getting that kill, but unfortunately, over on the other side of the map, Corey realized, man, there's 3 heroes top. That means Pikaz is completely alone. They jump in onto him, and this is pretty much going to turn into a trade. A kill on the carry and a tier 1 for each side.
Yeah, and he's still making Sacred work for it as well. Gardic is just being so annoying. This is how he loves it. This is why he picks himself Treant so much, honestly. It's just so he can do this exact play, sit under the tower, Nature's Grasp it over and over again, just with that level 1 spell, even just causing the push to be so much more prolonged. And he gets caught, well, that's a different problem, but oh, he missed the chains. He's still going to look for it, though, with the Razor, and I don't think he's got enough mana for the TP. Yeah, he's 10 short, so this is going to be a sad death, but... Oh, barely.
He does still have the... Yep. There it is.
Okay.
Plasma Field gets him the damage and the vision, so... It's a nice play from Gardic, but eventually he does have to get taken down because getting the kill in the tower, and eventually that trade did happen. Just took a little bit longer than anticipated. But now... Oh, where do Thunder Awaken look to reallocate resources, right? Top lane is gone, so Sacred is sort of freed up to maneuver around the map a little bit more. He and Matthew could try to get aggressive at this stage. Your Kunkka's got his boat back up, so there are some plays they could make. The only downside right now is that Widge hasn't hit 6 yet. If you have that Ice Blast, then really they could go for just about anybody on the map. But without it, they've got to be a bit more selective in their targets.
Yeah, it's kind of the sad reality of losing your tier 1 that early, which doesn't have a lane to really play in. Even Dark Mago has to be very careful being this far up. It's why he has heroes kind of hovering around him, just in case there is the play to be made on him. But at the same time, Hokori are also the ones looking for their next play, what they want to do. As I said, with a few of the lineups we've already seen in the tournament, every play they make that's successful just makes Yuma's life that much easier. I can definitely see them smoking up pretty soon here, because really, they're waiting for this Vitaly Blink, which is not too far gone. He's only about 200 gold away, and Vitaly's going pretty early here up on Pikaz. They're looking for a relocate.
Okay. Gets the bash down first. The crush will follow. The relocate brings Analog in. There's another bash. The Ice Blast is going to come through, though. The Hokori, he did get clipped by it, so the IO may fall here, but honestly, they got what they wanted. Pikaz goes down. They need to be a little bit wary, though, of this return play. Sacred went in before Dark Mago was ready to come around the other side, however, so it is going to get a little bit messy, but Sacred still survives. Analog gets taken down. Vitaly was able to get away, and Theolacor not only relocated back, but did not actually pop to that Ice Blast. So overall, if you're Hokori, you would have liked to get away cleanly with Analog, but you take down Pikaz once again, that's going to be pretty important to them. Just keep that Razor down for as long as you can, while Yuma just really farms. Not involved right now, working towards a Battle Fury.
Yeah, and space made, really no harm, no foul. Yuma's still farming in the bottom lane. He gets to do really whatever he wants when his team makes that play. At the same time, it's a little bit sad. You do have the Blink Dagger finished up on Vitaly. They're going to want to look for another smoke, and I Can they do this? This is a hard kill, but I think they might have
Blast
it.
is going to hit at point-blank range. They should still get the kill, though. Gardic even making sure, coming in, but there's that ghost ship. Hold on a second.
No.
They're deferring that damage. Sacred comes in, gets a stun on it, too. Oh, boy. That felt like a sure thing at the start. Instead, they'll lose 3 heroes. Gardic at least TP's away, but that's only because Sacred doesn't have any mana left for the stun to cancel it, but who cares? Let Gardic go. You got the kills that you wanted there. That was so close, but Dark Mago, he's got that little bit of durability in him, and he's got the reinforcements. That fight turns so quickly.
And that's really greedy from Hokori. They're using the overgrowth that early on. If he waits, then he's going to get a 3 or 4 man, but instead they felt like they needed the control to secure the Dark Mago kill, but that's a 20 stick and a freshly minted mech on Sacred that kind of ends up saving his life there, and you don't have any healing on your own, so those long fights, you can't really afford to take them. You need to get in, get out if you're Hokori with the AA forces, and
do they really want to do that? It's just Gardic. Yeah, they're going to back off. They would have rather gotten the tower, but it's still not really an option for them as Widge able to get the kill onto Yuma. He and Matthew just do that alone. Ice Blast right to the face is going to take down the PA, and now with no threat of PA, Thunder Awaken are going to look for a tower mid. Sacred, though, you got to be careful here. Analog has the angle on him. The Siphon is going to be there. The tower shot may just finish him off, because it is going to be enough. And now, because is coming in from the side, looking to take down the DP, but that Exorcism is now going to be deployed, and things are getting a little bit awkward. This fight is so split up, but to the south, Dark Mako and Widge were able to isolate Vitali. He went chasing after the kill while his teammates were still on their own side of the river. That should make that a relatively solid trade for the Thunder Awaken side. 3 kills across the map for the Leshrac. The problem is, they really need to get this tier 1 tower, ET.
yeah, it's really obnoxious. If they let up the pressure now, then Gardic's just going to start healing it back up, so they kind of have to run back here, but unfortunately without Sacred and not having that immediate tier 1, it's really hard for them to march back up to the high ground. Matthew, he's saying, guys, let's go. It's time. We need to do this. And they definitely do, but it's also just taking up so much time and so much in terms of their resources. They're marching around the high ground hero. They're invading the dire triangle. And with this ward plays, it's times like this you wish Sacred had a Yule Scepter, but there's the setup.
Matthew making the plays once again. Chains into Ice Blast, gets Widge the kill, and, well, that's the smaller of the two, right, between Theolacor and Analog, but at least you get the kill there, and as you said, if Sacred maybe had something to lock it down or close the gap, then you could have gone for more, but this is potentially going to free them up for another attempt on that mid-tier 1. They will still have to deal with defenders TPing in, but as of right now, the Hokori don't have anyone in position, and yeah, Sacred takes advantage, gets in with the Edict. Tower will finally fall. Hokori, though, bought a lot of time. Yuma checking in on him is only a couple hundred away now from finishing off that Battle Fury, but the Battle Fury is it's not a fighting item, right? He's buying an item to continue farming. You're still not going to have your PA for a little while longer.
Yeah, and that's also where whether or not Hokori make another play with this Exorcism refreshing in 30 seconds, Sacred is just on the prowl, and if he has to hit the stun on Theolacor, he got it.
Oh,
a little bit more damage.
Dodges out the attempt on his life. The Sleight of Fist not only prevents the last bit of damage from coming in, but allows the Ice Blast to connect, so Yuma gets taken down, and now this fight, well, I'm not going to say it doesn't matter, but it matters quite a bit less considering they've already lost the PA, but Analog, he's still got to take the fight. He is right in the thick of it. Sacred, though, dishing out a lot of damage onto him, but here comes Vitali coming in. They get the crush. Sacred, though, healing himself up. Dark Mago, meanwhile, ran Theolacor away from any of his teammates, so the healing is not there. They will at least get Sacred, but Analog is just here too long. He's going to get trapped up. The Yule Scepter will not save him. Dark Mago grabs the double. That's just...
No!
What?
He shoveled a cobalt. He dug it up. I've never seen that before. He died to the cobalt.
You greedy...
I mean, I would have done the same. He's just digging. He didn't... I've never seen anyone... Man, new kobolds are rough, man.
Oh my god. You died to a kobold, man. That's... Oh, that's not okay. Wow. Unfortunate for Widge. Not unfortunate, it was entirely his own doing, but... See, a bounty rune would never betray you like that, but At least doesn't give up any gold to the Hokori side. It's technically still a death to neutrals, but that's one I don't think I've seen before. Is because he's just going to go straight in for this kill. Gardic cannot survive. Yuma.
Setup though.
Okay. Wait. Yolkor. Oh, he actually didn't bring anyone with him. The Ice Blast is going to connect though, but they still want the kill. Because going to be taken down. Dark Mako though's coming though. Ollie's in some trouble. The X is going to pull him back into the ghost ship. They make the connection. The relocate will pull Yuma away very wisely. But that leaves Vitaly to his fate.
No, absolutely perfect. It is sad that he isn't able to get either the stick or his Yule Scepter off. If then, maybe Picasso is able to survive a little bit longer. But it's really just kind of a brutal fight. They're just continuously running into each other right now. I think Hokori might want to take a step back here, wait for Analog's BKB before they go for another engagement, just so he can not worry about the magic damage. Still needs to be concerned about the Ice Blast, but at the very least, you're not going to be shredded apart quite as easily. But meanwhile, at least you have Yuma farming up his own battlefield. He's got it right now. He's looking towards that Deso next, and then suddenly there's quite a big threat, actually, with the anti-armor. I think Gardic might be caught though again. Yep,
they'll take him down. Kaz can't chase any further, but they continue to keep Hokori on the back foot here. 21-8 in terms of that kill count. And now, what is going on? Bot Matthew, he's got eyes on the Core and Vitaly. This could be a pair of kills for them. The Core really is fighting though. Got to give him credit for that, but will still be taken down. However, over on the other side of the map, Analog, you saw earlier on, Picasso was kind of chasing after him a little bit. Didn't think he was actually going to go that far forward, and fortunately for him, he does. Yuma was in the area, so they'll turn that kill around, but elsewhere on the map, they're still struggling. Widge getting the kill onto Vitaly, Analog, and Yuma forced to TP in to defend this, but honestly, that might put them in the line of fire. They're quickly going to back away, and that's probably a good idea. The Ghost Ship was up. The Ice Blast was only about 20 seconds out, so don't really want to get caught there, especially look at the vision that Thunder Awaken have. They've got, actually both sides have a high ground ward there, but they've got another ward covering the ramp. They've got some sentries further to the west, so if you're Hokori, I understand the desire to defend this tower, but this is not a great position.
No, they're probably going to look for a little bit of a reset here. Yumi even switches up his build, goes for the more typical BKB right after his Battle Fury, but at the same time, Fakaz's dying top is it's rough stuff. He doesn't expect both the Death Prophet and the PA to be farming the same side. He thinks they're going to be split up trying to finish their items, but they really just sync up for a second to get that pretty easy kill. But now there's support this time around, pushing it towards the top jungle, and I think Thunder Awaken do need to do a little bit of a better job finding Analog whenever he is pushed up by himself towards this top left side of the map, because he is only maybe 300 gold away from his BKB. He's going to need a little bit more help here if he wants to take another go at Pakaz, but at the same time, that's where Widge, almost acting as the human ward, he's not the strongest here, but Matthew... Nice pick.
TP canceled, and that is a very dead Isle. And Pakaz is the one to get it as well, okay. Nice bit of extra gold into the hands of the Razor as he's closing in on that Manta, but... well, as you said, you really would like to get onto Analog himself, but the Death Prophet's doing such a good job of really not dangling too far out. And as we were mentioning back in the draft, that was something that was really sort of biting him in the ass in game one. He was alone, he was farming in his opponent's jungle and kept getting picked off. This time, 4-3-2. I mean, it's still not the best stat line in the world, all things considered, but the death count is being kept relatively low, and that means Thunder Awaken don't have that sort of easy target to jump in on, although they do have a nice objective going their way. 5-man push into the tier 2 top will claim the objective, and we're going to get the outpost on top.
Yeah, and rightfully so. Hokori, they don't want to fight. If there is a Roche attempt, then maybe they can test a little bit harder, but that's where, unfortunately, Razor, Eye of the Storm, people always pop it, but does not do a thing to Roche. They are most likely going to get it, though. They just have a really nice mix of hybrid damage here. And even if Hokori's scanning out at this point, they're just so close to their items. They're 400 away from Yuma's BKB. Analog has his flying out. It's a really smart play from Thunder Awaken, because that's the objective that Hokori would love to play for. But now, if Hokori want to get the ball back in their court, they're going to need to run at these tier 2 towers to start a play. And I don't think they're going to go for it. I think instead they're going to look for this triple BKB timing, and then we'll probably see a smoke up. But now you have to pose the question of who are we going to actually find as our target here. Dark Mago's got a BKB. He's not really the easiest one to start on. You'd love to find Sacred, but he's sitting so far back in a lot of these fights. He's never the one to break. It's always either Dark Mago or Pakaz, and that's exactly what they need to do. And they really don't want to get caught bot here. They've got good vision, but oh, Theliacore, are you just traded out? Yeah, poor guy.
Yosef is going to lock him down, so they will take the quick and easy kill. That buys time for the rest of Hokori to escape at least, so Theliacore serving as the sacrificial lamb in the early warning system, as honestly that could have been so much worse, right? That smoke play was sort of angling towards one or two of the cores, so if you're Hokori, that's going to be your sort of silver lining there. You get everybody out, you can continue to farm, and two of those three BKBs are complete. Yuma has his, Analog has finished one off, Vitali is really right about there. Maybe just give him another minute or two, and that'll be finished off. So I mentioned that might be the timing for them. They're going to have BKBs, they'll have all their ults available. Maybe they can make something happen, but while they wait, starting to lose a little bit of ground elsewhere on the map. Tier 2 bot now under attack. Thunder Awaken should take it fairly easily.
Yeah, and I don't know if my game is bugged or is Pakaz's plate mail working? It's a really weird question, but I don't know if it is. I'm looking at the buffs on his hero tab, and I'm like, should it be 19 plus 10 right now? Because both him and Dark Mago are going for the AC, which is probably going to be a sad realization pretty soon here, but at the same time, there's no time for that because Analog's getting torrented, but very weird, very strange.
Yeah, it's not displaying because, yeah, that's not base armor. That should, whatever. Okay. I don't think it's displaying right. Maybe he has it. It's just not showing up correctly, but who cares? Because Sacred, damn, he just got blown up. Yuma's directly onto him. Now they're going to look for more. Widge is a little out of position. He got the Ice Blast off, but I don't think he's actually going to get away alive. He will be taken down. Pakaz now trying to push into the fight as well. He and Dark Mago looking to make something happen, as they did get Vitali, but with Analog popping his BKB, he is just doing so much to keep these two heroes occupied. And really, there's not a whole lot that they can do. They now have to back off. Pakaz is trying to get away, but
oh no,
he completes it. Nope, no TP. He's going to get hit by the Yules, and now this Aegis doesn't matter. They'll kill him once, but he's surrounded by enemy heroes with no escape route. Already tried to use his TP, so he literally just has to sit here and wait for death. He'll drain some damage, just looking for anything he possibly can get, but it's not going to be enough.
Oh boy, man, oh man, that fight broke out so far away. Even though that was a really good Ice Blast, actually from Widge, they were just kind of able to walk out, and with the BKBs just getting popped, even though the Death Prophet was one of the heroes that got clipped by it, it was at the beginning of the fight. He didn't really need to heal at that point, and when you have to use the link on the Slardar, then Yuma, who really doesn't have a lot of damage, just gets to use his ult more or less for all of his damage, and unfortunately, they found the perfect pecking order. Found the supports first, found Sacred by himself, had to pop the BKBs and really run, and then you get the Aegis carrier last. I mean, that's just perfect from Hokori.
Textbook team fight execution, and yeah, with Sacred dead so early, I mentioned Analog. There was a scenario while Matthew was sort of dying further up the river, right around this ramp, where Analog popped a BKB and just stood there in between Pakaz and Dark Mago, as Widge is going to get picked off once again, and just didn't take any significant damage. He just stood there and kept those two heroes in a position where they quickly realized they couldn't win the fight and had to back away. And speaking of fights, Sacred almost getting baited into that one. Vitali holds on to the last second for the BKB, but they're not able to close the gap in time. But talked about how important these BKBs were going to be for the Hokori side. It pays off big there.
Yeah, definitely so. And, well, okay, Yuma, that was a little crazy, to be honest. Just farming and blink striking there, but at the same time, until I feel like we even see a BKB for Sacred here, he's just such a massive target. And Dark Mago, oh no. Well, Vitali got hit by the Earth Splitter. That's really unfortunate timing.
Look at Matthew pushing his way forward, looking to just keep heroes in position. They got the root onto Yuma. That's going to force the BKB. X marks the spot, really won't do anything, but they've actually cut out another hero. Theliacore, yeah. Was that the pullback from his relocate, or just sort of get caught out there? Either way, it's a bit of a freebie as Pakaz picks up a kill, and now Thunder Awaken have maybe a numbers advantage. They could try to turn it into a tower push, but Gardic is still alive, so that living armor is going to slow this down a little bit. Not sure if it's going to be enough, though, especially if Thunder Awaken just keep all of their cores here.
man, that is really rough there. When Vitaly went for that blank in, literally gets clipped by Sacred trying to time the splitter on the relocate from Affiliate Core. Not even aiming for the Slardar, and then he ends up dying, but without getting his BKB off, he just gets stunned into death. And because of that, lose your tier 2, lose a bunch of map control. Matthew is still doing Matthew things, hunting for heroes across the map. And now that he's got a few more levels, he can actually be the one to seek for these heroes playing around the edge.
Ooh, did they just double smoke?
They did double smoke, but this is honestly a really tight timing here. This is with 5 seconds cooling down on Yuma's BKB, so Thunder Awaken could feel almost deceptively safe because of how fast that team fight kind of cooled down just a few moments ago, but at the same time, we might be a little bit too aware of what's going on here. Because played really careful setting the Manta Illusions down bottom, so not giving any target for Hokori to hit here. The only way they would catch him is if they find their way up onto this ramp, but I think the smoke duration is just not going to last long enough. They're going to have to retreat to their side of the base.
Yeah, they don't have the time that they would have needed, and now popping both of those smokes kind of hurts. Oh god, okay. Let's smoke again, boys. 4-man
they're
smoke.
out.
They've got a DD rune. They find their target. They are going to be able to hit. Going in onto the Conquer first. Dark Mago dropping low. Bashes up. He is still actually getting out of this right now, though. They need to be able to close that gap. They finally get it, but now the Ice Blast is going to come in into the Ghost Ship. And they've lost Yuma. Not sure if they can take the fight now, but look at Gardic. He gets in on the back line, drops down a nice overgrowth. And Analog, he's got to do all the work here. He needs the damage. The Exo is certainly helping out, but slowly but surely it looks like Thunder Awaken are trying to pull away from him, and this is where it's going to turn. The BKB gone. He'll try to buy time with the Yule Scepter, and because I mean, he's low enough on HP where he really can't afford to keep going. He'll back off. Matthew makes his retreat as well. And Gardic, he is going to make the great escape here. He was just sort of being that nuisance on the backline once again, and well, it's still bad for Hokori, certainly, but I don't think it's as bad as it could have been. They lose 3, they have to force a buyback, but they got Dark Mago and they get Analog out, but that just got a little bit rough for them. Yuma jumps in, but jumped in with really no healing afterwards.
Yeah, and that's why they need to find Witch first. It's him that really causes Yuma to die there. He's the one who forces Dark Mago out, which makes the kill take so much longer. He's the one who gets the Ice Blast that pretty much kills both Vitaly and Yuma. They've really got to start finding this AA who's just really had a pretty easy time sitting in these backlines. Unless he's started on by the Slardar, there really isn't an easy way to handle him, especially post your PA dying. While Pakaz, well, I don't know how he got him out of the invis, but I guess he just found the perfect timing on the creep wave there and picks off the tree, and that's pretty huge.
And he hit him up right as the tree was sort of trying to be in between waves, did not get to the tree line in time, so that just sort of creates an easy kill. And the good news for Hokori is that nothing will come of that. This is not a scenario where Thunder Awaken can now immediately push for an objective. Roche isn't back up for 2 minutes, and high ground as of right now is inaccessible. But with Gardic not prowling around, you do not have to worry about Hokori sort of coming at you with an overgrowth sort of coming from the sides, and you're just going to feel free to continue farming. As you look at Pakaz, what is he working his way towards? He's looking for the Satanic as his next item here, so okay. The lifesteal to potentially just sort of keep him up. Going to be so much harder to keep locked down as well, but well, I'm not really sure that lockdown has been the issue for Pakaz. In a lot of these fights, when he has to back off, it's just because he's taking too much damage. So I suppose in that regard, the Satanic is going to be maybe the better choice for him.
Yeah, and it's really funny because, again, I don't think his Shiva's is working, or at least it's not telling us that it's working. I hope it is, but the Satanic will definitely shore up his other problem. Not the refresher build that we've typically seen before, but I assume that having the Yule Scepter and the Manta, saying that he's got enough in the tank dispel-wise that he's not going to need to worry. And Manta is the item that you love to have versus Train Protector. BKB is just a little bit too hard committal, and then Gardic just simply saves it after you pop BKB to then root you, and then why would you even have a BKB if you're just going to be rooted? But this is a huge smoke, and this is Hokori's last smoke for a while now, I believe, unless they've really been holding them all.
Perfect target. They're gonna actually not quite blow him up. The Yule Scepter comes in. He's gonna pop the Manta as well. Still trying to get away, but the root comes in. Gardic locks him down. And they did find the kill into Pakaz, but now they got to deal with Sacred. He's just trying to charge in, but he's charging in again with not a lot of durability. He had already popped the boots, so Sacred will fall. Gardic does die too, but he's quick to buy back, and now they're in onto Matthew, trying to lock down the Ember Spirit, jumping away to the Remnants, but it's not going to be enough. NET said that was the last smoke for a while. They sure as hell made that one count.
Yep, they find the Razor immediately, pick him off. They should check Roche pretty soon here. They should know that it's coming up, but we'll have to see. It's going to be up to the supports now. And Gardic,
There we
perfect. Love it from him. It's unfortunate that Analog TP'd out, but he's not really the biggest contributor to actually killing that Roche, but Yuma's going to head over there, and that's going to be your Aegis and your Ag Shard now given over to the side of Hokori. And Aegis, huge on Yuma. Now he can actually feel comfortable enough to actually hit these buildings. He has a perfect slot for it as well. He can use the Ag Shard so well with the Fan of Knives, and actually, Dark Mago.
Okay, kind
He's
of
got
wandering
BKB,
in.
but oh no.
BKB activated,
he doesn't TP
but
out. He's dead.
he's going to get bashed, though. He can't actually get himself out of here. Or maybe he can. He's TPing.
Oh,
Nope, the bash.
no.
Vitali,
Well,
with the overcharge on him, was able to get a second bash in time, and Dark Mago, I don't know. The thing is, they scanned the Roche pit for Thunder Awaken, so they knew that was happening. Dark Mago just, I think, kind of gets a little bit too close and doesn't respect the speed that Hokori can take Roche with and gets caught out for it.
Yeah, it's honestly a really tough kill to give up, because now all you can really do is sit in your base or farm the sides, and that's where Picaz is already split off from his main team. But I think these tier 2s are just going to be conceded. They're going to be more or less forfeit. If anyone tries to leave the base, beautiful ward from Gardic. Just always able to get that super fast jump here. Even Matthew, if he ventures too far close, then you just see him dying. But okay, they go
Hold
first.
up, that's a big stun onto Yuma. They're going to hit him with the Ice Blast, and that's the Aegis gone. Okay. Very nice play. Trying to buy time for the Kunkka to respawn, but here's where the problem comes in. Vitali just blinks in, goes for the stun. Sacred is going to get burned quickly. Now Widge taken down as well. Widge will buy back. The problem is he buys back, but the Ice Blast is still 30 seconds out, so there's really not a whole lot he's going to be able to contribute here, but they are starting to bring Picaz over, and the Kunkka's back up in 5. And I think most importantly, Tier 3 tower, very much still standing. It took one hit, really, and that was it. But oh, hello,
Ooh.
Gardic. This is not your base. Very sneaky tree. He's got the blink and the overgrowth, so he's just gonna lay and wait and maybe see if he can come up from behind. If they get that overgrowth at that angle, that would be massive. And the only problem is, yeah, Thunder Awaken have left their base already. They smoke up this forward. They're doing this without Sacred, however, so they're gonna be missing a little bit of damage, but they started off with the Searing Chains. The Ice Blast is at least going to have its impact damage dodged by the Yules, but Analog doesn't care. He wants to turn and fight, pops the BKB to avoid the X, and he really should be just fine. That smoke play from Thunder Awaken running into really the one hero that they weren't going to be able to kill.
Yeah, it kind of sucks for Hokori, though. That's really not how they wanted to spend their Aegis, and you can only praise Thunder Awaken for that immediate jump. They felt way too safe with the Kunkka dead already. They really weren't respecting what the remainder of Awaken's lineup could have done, and I think that's where a lot of initiative is actually going to swap over back to Awaken's side, because now your PA can't hit buildings. Now you have to wait for someone else to go in first, and of course, Yuma's got another DD bottled as well as a completed Abyssal Blade, but if you're not too careful, he's not playing for buyback right now. We're 35 minutes in. A death on a core could easily result in kind of a swing Rax here, even though it would definitely be a little bit more difficult for Thunder Awaken to pull off. They got an AC on Dark Mago. They can definitely roll your buildings if everyone's dead on your side. At the same time, Hokori are kind of itching to go right now. They've got their Exorcism. They used very little aside from the Aegis. It's just that important for Yuma to have that now they might lose a lot of control that they otherwise would have.
Meanwhile, I do want to point out, I like this play from Dark Mago. He's angling towards the Aghanim Scepter, so we talked about how important the BKBs have been for Hokori, but those durations are starting to get low, and a well-placed and well-timed Torrent Storm could really just disrupt everything, especially for the PA. If you get thrown up by one of those Torrents with no magic immunity, not only does your damage just not come out, but maybe Thunder Awaken could just sort of blow Yuma up quickly.
It's the waterworks. It's the build, and especially with how close you have to get to these heroes, I wonder if we're going to see Yuma or anyone move towards possibly the Nullifier, just with how prevalent the Ghost Scepters have been for keeping these Thunder Awakened heroes alive. But Man, Hokori, they just use their smokes as soon as they come back up. Again, they're out. I think this is their fifth one in 10 minutes. They've really been saving it for this moment, but they got to be so careful here, especially Gardic. He's got the high ground ward, but yep, they're going to know something's up.
There's going to be the Ice Blast into the Torrent, into the Ghost Ship. This is the problem, but the BKBs come out. But now Dark Mago, he's going to pop his own BKB. The Torrent Storm will be deployed, just wreaking havoc on that lineup, pushing through all of them as he'll take Gardic down. Analog's a little low himself. He's going to pop the Eul Scepter to try and stay alive, while Yuma, he's just looking for a target. They spotted Because. If they can bring him down, that'd be huge. They haven't finished him off just yet, though, as the Eul Scepter will be deployed, but once he lands, they do get the kill. Because dead, Sacred gone as well. Buyback out now from the Leshrac, but they have bigger targets. They see Dark Mago, they'll take Dark Mago, but look at the triple remnant from Matthew in there for the damage. The Olacore and Analog are now dead, and they will finish off Yuma as well. That is a clutch buyback. The Ember just dives in, and Thunder Awaken take a much-needed fight, and now there's no one alive. Buybacks are limited. They are the team looking for the high ground push.
Yeah, and 145 on the PA. There's no buyback for him. They need a bounty rune. They need a layup here, but honestly, Dark Mago hitting a 3-man torrent as he's dying, as he's pretty much ticking out to his own rum buff. And then, honestly, Sacred's buyback is what made it there. Having the fault stone on the 2 in the backline, it's just perfect. And this is their moment. I don't think they can end the game here, but they surely are going to hit tier 4s to maybe try and poke out a buyback and then go for the return. It's unfortunate that Because doesn't have an Ags or really any more damage items, but at the same time, this could be a lot of kind of building structure damage here. And with Sacred, without Glyph, there's nothing to really tank for you. The Edict's going to get the job done.
Looking at 2 full lanes of racks here, and I mean, ET, 35 seconds out from the PA. Maybe if you want to get greedy with it, they could try to swing bot, but some of these heroes are beginning to respawn. It's not the full force for Hokori, but if you're Thunder Awaken, yeah, you just put a massive swing of momentum on the board. No reason to risk it and potentially sort of lose what you just fought so hard to gain.
Yeah, and they're making the smart call, get control of this top dire triangle area, try to now play for the outpost, play against what Hokori have as a win objective, because they know that the next time that they go up against each other, Hokori are going to have buybacks and you are not for the next 5 minutes. So you have to move away from creep waves, move away from outposts, don't let them buy back TP in on Yuma. That's how you lose this game if you're Thunder Awaken. Instead, we could see just a full reset, Thunder Awaken trying to dodge out these fights and then most likely play for the next Roche, but that's also where they are at the mercy of the timer here. The later the Roche, the more it favors Thunder Awaken. If we see him come up in a minute here, Hokori definitely have a pretty big shot at winning the game. Not to mention, any kill on Because or Sacred is just so much firepower on the sideline for Thunder Awaken that they might just lose buildings in tow. Because again, they have the Exorcism. They really didn't get to use, I think, too many spells there. So they have everything again to go. They just don't have a smoke. That's the one thing they're missing on Hokori's side.
Meanwhile, you take a look at Matthew. I just had to double check that. He bought a full Kaya and a Blink Dagger, just straight up. At the same time, you take a look at his net worth compared to the other cores, he's about 4k ahead of Widge and Gardic, so Matthew had already been making some big plays, 6-2 and 18, considering he's playing from that position for a role. Now he's going to be, well, maybe not doing any more damage, but the maneuverability and extra utility that he now has is something that Hokori are going to have to sort of keep an eye on. They really can't afford to just let him do what he wants and initiate where he wants.
No, definitely not. As well as, really, the killer for Matthew is the more obnoxious he is, the more effective he is, the earlier those BKBs come out. Because looking across the items for Hokori, you don't see those Lotuses, you don't see those Eul Scepters. It's the exact opposite style of itemization that Thunder Awaken have gone for, where they are all about the buy-to-buy, they're all about surviving in these situations. They've got Aeon Discs, they've got Euls, they've got Mantas. They're really trying to not go for the more hard committal style, where Hokori, once they're spent, it's gone. It's a cooldown, it's something they have to either ignore or play completely around. And here's another smoke. Again, it just came up. They use it immediately, and they will reclaim their outpost here. But this is a long Roche timer, and that heavily favors Thunder Awaken. They don't really have to be pushed towards this area unless they really want to for a while now.
And, you know, I was sort of scrolling through the items on the Hokori side, and yeah, that is kind of surprising. You didn't really fully check it until you pointed it out. Other than this one Eul's on the DP, their ability to sort of purge or otherwise avoid this lockdown is just exclusively the BKBs on their cores. So, well, cores plus the Core, he also has one picked up. So it gets a little bit dicey. A player like Matthew can just get in there, and if you force out the BKBs, then you clear the path for the Ice Blasts, for your Torrent Storms, and your boat combos. So, a little strange that Hokori don't have some more defensive itemization. That might have to change in the near future. Although, at this point, who knows how much time they'll have to do so, right? Because if they lose 1 or 2 more fights, they've already lost 2 lanes of Braxton. Look at Matthew go. Being obnoxious, getting in there. Widge will find the kill. They've taken down Vitaly already. He'll buy back quickly, though, but this is a problem. Yuma's dropping low. Can they keep him alive? They're certainly going to try to, but he's getting hit by that Torrent Storm. Dropped low, taken down. Immediately buying back himself. He'll TP to the outpost, and now Gardex is going to look to reset things with the ult. Does manage to connect. They're on to Kaz. And that might just be enough to save the day here. I think Kaz gets taken down. Yep, Analog picks up the Ultra. And between the buybacks and the overgrowth, I think Gardex may have just saved the day.
I really think that they might have thrown a little bit right there. They kind of did exactly what I did not want them to do. Yuma gets to TP in at the outpost. They get the second life. If it drags just a little bit closer towards the mid lane instead, then not only are you not playing versus Hokori's vision, but you don't have that immediate effect of the PA just coming back into your fight while you've got 100 seconds without your Leshrac or your Razor. That's a massive, massive problem. I think Matthew might have jumped the gun there on the going for the Vitaly kill where he didn't have BKB, and of course you did kill him. You got his buyback out, but this is going to be costly. They still have a tier 2 to break through on the mid lane, but you're at the very least going to get Glyph. But I'm very concerned now for Thunder Awaken. This is a huge opening that Hokori can play in now. If they lose anybody else in the meantime, the game's just going to get that much more difficult.
And I mean, it looks so good. Like you said, yeah, Matthew, now in hindsight, may have gone in a little bit too early, but they picked off Vitaly, they force a buyback. They pick off Yuma, they force a buyback. The problem with forcing a buyback, though, is that the hero fought back. They're still in the fight. And with that outpost that they had taken... Oh, we'll get to that in a... Jesus. In a second, Matthew. Good attempt, but it's just going to be the one-for-one trade. But with that outpost that they had taken at the very start of their smoke, those heroes were able to immediately reinforce, turn the fight around, and now, well, here comes Roche, back up. You said the timer would favor Thunder Awaken, and that was true at the time, but now, after that fight, oh my god, Roche is just gone.
Yeah, it would have favored them if they didn't take the fight, but because they do so, and they're looking for Widge. Oh no. Well, that's unfortunate because this is perfect now. They've used these timers really beautifully because Analog gets the full mana reset, pushes in the mid wave. He's got you on the tower. And now as everybody meets up with each other, Analog just pops the refresher. Okay. They're just going for it. Okay.
Oh, that was his orb too, not the shard. That's now passed over to him, so they'll have another exorcism after this. They could just take the game. Yeah, they're going for it. Tier 4s. Thunder Awaken.
Use Glyph here?
Where are you at? You gotta mount some sort of defense, but the Kunkka's not up for 10. This is getting into desperation territory. Hokori, could they do it to him again? They're looking for it, but there's the Ice Blast. That's gonna buy some time, but it didn't really hit him much of anything. It's done. Dark Mako, he can't do this. He's just gonna die. Yeah, that's the game. And there we go. They'll take Dark Mako down. He'll buy back, but at this point they can just hit the Ancient. And Hokori, they come in against a team that had literally not lost a game yet in this group stage, and they hand them a 0-2 defeat. That is incredibly impressive from the Hokori side.
Yeah, and usually when we talk about SA Dota, when we talk about teams like Hokori, the region is known for its 1-1s. They're known for taking games off of each other constantly, just having these nifty ideas, but Hokori just had better decision making, I think, this time around. Thunder Prayer, they tried that style that they've run and worked in pretty much all of their other games where they just kind of move around the map as one unit, just killing over and over again. But something broke. The wheel broke in Thunder Awaken where the plays just stopped happening, and Hokori, honestly, just with the way that they were able to use their buybacks, I genuinely think that if Thunder Awaken take it just a little bit slower there, if Matthew doesn't jump up the high ground like that, we could be looking at a very different game here. But instead, I think they just blow the whistle a little bit too early. they had the counter pick in the PA to, of course, invalidate the Razor just a little bit, but letting Hokori leave and get out in that situation, it just feels like the late game decision making was just head and above better for Hokori in this game. I just feel like they were simply able to make the correct choice in just a few instances that resulted in them getting not only the second Roche, but then having everything kind of line up perfectly for them to get the second Aegis. Not to mention, they could have even, it didn't take a very long time, but if they wanted to, they could have just barreled down mid as opposed to killing that Roche, and we probably would have seen a very similar effect, but everything just kind of lined up for them to take the game.
Yeah, incredible play from Hokori, and I'll bring it up again. We had the graph here for just a moment. Look at how many times Thunder Predator, they're in the lead, and it's either more than cut in half or just straight up lost. So at a certain point, Hokori do mount a comeback. That's going to be the most important thing here. But Thunder Predator, or Thunder Awaken, excuse me, they're playing with fire, right? Multiple times in this game, they had significantly lost their momentum, and they were able to get it back the first two times, but that final little surge from Hokori is just too much. So, well, you pull it back once or twice, that's fantastic, but the fact that they kept letting the lead slip through their fingers eventually proved to be too big of an opportunity for Hokori to pass up.
Yeah, and I mean, you see the sharp dip. You see whenever they immediately turned it around, got 2 racks. Yuma doesn't have buyback for 150 seconds, and unfortunately, they just don't know, right? They don't know that maybe they can try to go for the end. Maybe they can force a buyback on analog, and then maybe they win the fight because they find the DP first. But those are all maybes at this point. The Corey win. They got the victory. It's just sad to see Thunder Awaken kind of go out with a little bit of a whimper here, where Hokori and Thunder's applause, a very well-deserved 2-0.
Yeah, very well-deserved and very impressive as they continue pushing their way up the standings. Thunder Awaken, their winning streak is broken, but they're still sitting now at 6-2, so they are probably going to be okay, but a sort of unexpected dip for them in terms of all the momentum that they had been building. But that is the way of South American Dota sometimes, and Hokori in particular. We mentioned it earlier on. They're not always consistent, but when they're on, they're on. They looked very good here, and they walk away with the 2-0. So with that in mind, we're going to be moving on to our second series of the day here. We are shifting over to Infamous versus Wildcard. So it's still going to feature, one SA team, but we're getting some of the NA boys in there. We'll see how those two squads fare, as they should be getting ready to go really within the next couple of minutes. So we'll be stepping away for just a little bit, but we'll be back for that second best of 2 in about 10 minutes time. So stick around, and we'll see you then.